There's a reason why I talk about narcissists. It's something that I've come in contact with for the past 14 years of my career. And probably out of that 14 years, 2 years in a personal context. There's a reason why most psychotherapists put videos out and do books and, add to their repertoire of experience by studying certain areas. For the most part, there's a personal and professional piece to their existence. And so for me, not only have I run into overt and covert narcissists, personally and professionally, but I have also run into narcissists who are also sociopaths. There's a lot of overlap between a sociopath and a narcissist, and many times clinically, it's sometimes hard to, look at the criteria and say, okay, you're meeting all the diagnostic criteria for narcissistic personality disorder. Oh, but by the way, you're also meeting criteria for antisocial personality disorder, which seems to really be on the high end of the spectrum, which is a sociopath. Sometimes it's not easy to place a narcissist where they belong along the spectrum. So we do our best as professionals. But let me just say, for you as a family member to somebody who's a narcissist, where do you place them on that spectrum of personality disorders? Category B or cluster B would include diagnoses such as histrionic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, and antisocial personality disorder. In that category or along that spectrum, where would you put your family member? So I'm going to talk today a little bit about those 5 types of narcissism to give you an idea of maybe what it is that you've been experiencing. But before we jump in, let me briefly introduce myself in case you are new. My name is Tamra. I'm internationally and board certified in trauma therapy. I'm licensed in mental health. I specialize in treating children, teens, and families, as well as adults who are dealing with trauma. Let's go ahead and jump in. There is a lot of pop psychology in the world today. And anytime I meet with a client, someone who's consulting with me, maybe a younger colleague who just got into the field of psychology, maybe some high school students, or maybe everyday people who picked up a book out of Barnes & Noble and said, you know what, I think I'm going to learn some psychology. I see this grandiose kind of way of looking at narcissists. It's kind of like the new fad. It's the new interest for society today. And sadly, that kind of takes the seriousness away from the depth of this particular disorder. Narcissistic personality disorder is not the kind of disorder that, is something you should, be interested in because it's an interesting topic. Or narcissistic personality disorder doesn't just happen to be somebody who's really, kind of sucked into, their own ability to please others and be socially engaged and be beautiful and handsome and get attention. Narcissistic personality disorder can destroy lives. It is a disorder that includes a lot of sadistic, manipulative, unstable, unhealthy patterns of behavior that I can also classify as dysfunctional. It is not a disorder that pop psychology makes it out to be that is interesting because of social media or because of Instagram alone, right? A lot of people think that narcissists exist on social media and Instagram. Yes, that may be true, but there are also some narcissists who come across as very humble, very modest, very caring, very altruistic. And the reality is that no, they're not that way. They can come across that way, but that isn't necessarily who they are. Their personal behavior and the way that they treat other people is contrast to what they display and what they say that they are. That's really complicated to understand, because you may be thinking right now, well, what about my pastor? He's really humble, or she's really humble. What about my best friend? He seems really humble and down to earth, but he does wonderful things for other people. You may be sitting thinking, what is this therapist on YouTube talking about? Because I have really giving, loving friends. Here's what I'm saying. They might be giving and loving and compassionate, but For, other areas of their life, they may be rather cold, they may be detached, there may not be any empathy, there may not be any consideration of other people's thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. They may also play the woe is me card, where, they basically just say, I'm so talented and I'm so good at what I do and I'm so loving that I get mistreated all the time because the world is the problem, not me. That kind of narcissist is known as a vulnerable narcissist. They don't have the capacity to see that they are kind of bolstering themselves, or boosting themselves, maybe I should say, above other people. They feel like they are too good for other people in society, that they are too loving and too rich and too altruistic for the condition of society. And so that little piece of the puzzle, is essential for you to understand, because a narcissist can slip under the door, can slip right by you if you don't understand these 5 types of narcissists. Let's kind of zone in on family with this, all right? Let's start with the triangle of narcissism. Now, I always talk about triangulation, where there's a victim, there's a persecutor, there's a rescuer. But that's not the triangle I'm going to be talking about today. The triangle that I'm talking about is the narcissistic triangle. And here's what's a part of that triangle. Number 1, narcissism goes at the top. Narcissism is at the very top of that individual's list of behaviors, okay? They are narcissistic, no matter how they seem. On the left side of that triangle is going to be grandiosity, or grandiose. That's a sense of entitlement in a way. That's a sense of, I'm better than other people. I'm up here and you're down here. It may also be, I can do things that nobody else in the world can do. You may also get grandiosity that seems kind of psychotic, like, I talk to God every night and he responds to me verbally, and we have lunch together, and me and God, we talk all the time, we're really close, and he told me some things about his past and he's going to help me be great in the world. I once had a client that, this was about maybe 5 years ago, I once had a client that was very connected to the grandiose idea that she and God were having conversations every single day. And it's not, let me clarify this. It's not God speaks to my soul, God speaks to my mind, he gives me direction. This was, I'm going to lunch with God later in the evening and we're going to have a conversation. It was a pretty interesting psychotic episode that this person was going through. On the other side of that triangle, you're going to see vulnerability. And this is what I was highlighting earlier in the video. The vulnerable narcissist believes that they are special, that they're important, that they do a lot for other people, but they see themselves as being better than other people and unable to connect with other people because nobody else is out there like me. Nobody else is as talented and smart and ingenious as me. That is the narcissistic mindset. So you've got narcissism at the top, you've got grandiosity on the left, and you got vulnerability on the right. We also have what's called this assertive extraversion of a narcissist, and let's just put that into the category of grandiosity. They're very extroverted, they're outgoing, they're people pleasers, they come across as self-confident, assertive, bold and boisterous. And while that may be true, they also have another side of them that feels very, very insecure. And there's a reason why they bolster themselves over other people, because they need that validation, on the inside. They need to feel important, and they come across to other people as if they are wonderful, confident, and great. But underneath the surface, there's something else going on. These individuals may also come across as leaders, right? So you may have a family member like this. They lead the family, they educate the family, they're always running to everybody's rescue in the family. They do all these great things. They're assertive, they're extroverted in the family. They do all these great things, but their behavior tends to be a mismatch to their attitude, to their thought patterns, right? To their other people's need for compassion and love and sympathy. There's always something off with these particular family members. Now, underneath the vulnerable narcissist, there's kind of like this neuroticism. So they are really anxious, they are high strung, These kind of individuals may also have obsessive compulsive personality traits, meaning that they are rigid and rule oriented. And when things don't go their way, it's a huge explosion. Or when things don't go their way, they are really judgmental, critical, demeaning, condescending, and sometimes they might even have a complete breakdown because nothing is right. I tried so very hard and nothing ever turns out the way that it should. And I'm using air quotes because this has been something that I have seen many years in vulnerable narcissists. It's like they have this breakdown and they cry and they whine and they complain because nobody meets their expectations. Is this something that most of us can struggle with? Absolutely. But we're talking about a narcissist who is way on the other side of the spectrum of human behavior. And narcissists tend to be at the higher end of the pathological spectrum, right? Because we all can be neurotic at times, right? But narcissists tend to be on the higher end of the spectrum where their behavior is pathological and unstable. Now, let me also say for the grandiose narcissist, we can also say that this particular family member or individual in general, really has a sense of entitlement. I once had someone consult with me who was a complete narcissist, more of an overt narcissist where you could see every ounce of their need for self-importance. And, one of the things that this person shared with me was if they don't get their way, they immediately look for ways to dismantle that person's life, to tear them down, to take control, to manipulate the situation. And this person expressed that they see the destruction that they are causing within their family, but at the same time, they don't want to change it because I get everything I want. And, just engaging this person in self-reflection was really difficult because there's a huge sense of entitlement attached to their behavior. And that is the scary part. So let me break this down just a little bit more, okay? Let's talk about the 5 types of narcissists. The first kind of narcissist is the adaptive and the maladaptive narcissist. Now, the adaptive narcissist is somebody who's able to kind of adapt to different situations. They're flexible. They're able to kind of mold to the needs of the environment. These particular individuals may come across as confident and self-assured. They're adaptable and they come across to people in the world as self-sacrificing, flexible, giving, empathic, and understanding. But that is not really what's at the core. They're getting some kind of emotional and psychological stimulation from being this way, right? I'm the only one that can be adaptive, or I don't complain, I just get along with people. There is a sense of self-importance that's still buried under the surface. Now, if you have a narcissist within your family who is a maladaptive narcissist, then here's what you're likely to see. These particular individuals take advantage of other people. They manipulate the situation, whatever that may be. They have poor and unhealthy and unstable relationships. All of their deep-seated needs for self-importance and recognition causes destruction in relationships across multiple domains. So it's not just within your family. It could be at work with a boss, at work with a coworker, in the neighborhood with a neighbor, someone at the grocery store. These individuals function in a maladaptive, unhealthy way. Okay. The next kind of narcissist is the overt narcissist. And I brought this up a little bit earlier. They're the ones who are clearly narcissistic. They are out in clear view, right? You can see that they are self-absorbed and that everything that they desire and need comes before everybody else's needs. The covert narcissist, and this particular narcissist at the core is a narcissist, but they come across to other people as if they are not. These particular individuals are manipulative, they're maladaptive, right? They tend to be rather introverted. They may come across as depressed in some ways, and they may actually use depression to kind of manipulate other people on the outside. On the inside, though, they're really scraping and grabbing and reaching for attention. They're self-centered. It's all about them, and it's all about what they want and what they feel they need. The malignant narcissist is probably something that you're well familiar with within your own family, and maybe you've seen a friend, a colleague, or whoever that's a malignant narcissist. But this particular narcissist is sadistic, They are also vindictive. That's the word I was trying to say earlier. They also tend to be rather evil, and they have a specific way that they kind of go after you to control your life and harm you in some ways. I'm going to post my most recent chat right here. Go ahead and check that out after the end of this video. I talk about evil and narcissism, and I really try to zone in on what the differences are between evil and narcissism. But then I also mention the sadistic and vindictive personality traits of the narcissist. Now, we also have what's called the communal narcissist, And this is a narcissist who seems to tag themselves without anybody else doing it. They tag themselves. I'm loving, I'm caring, I'm intelligent, I'm good at what I do. I'm, a loving person that gives her heart to everybody. I am giving. I help the homeless. They label themselves. So they self-describe. That's my new word for this video. They self-describe. They add their own labels to themselves. And sadly, in doing that, other people may believe that this particular family member, for example, is a loving, caring, self-sacrificing person because that's how they label themselves. When the reality is that at the core, there's a mismatch between how they label themselves and how they treat others within the family or others in the community. So here's a good example of that. Let's say, for example, your mother is a communal narcissist and she has always tagged herself as being an empath. She's loving, she's caring, she's giving. Let's say that you lose your home or you lose your apartment and you go to your mom and you say, Mom, I really need your help. Is there any way that you can give me a loan? Is there any way that I can move in with you? Can you please help me? A communal narcissist is likely to say, no, I'm sorry, I can't help you. You do this every time. 1 minute you're self-sufficient and the next minute you need a loan. I cannot continue to open my doors to you. You're gonna have to go to a shelter or find somebody else to live with. Goodbye. That's a communal narcissist. That's somebody who tags themselves a certain way, but when they really need to be that way, they're not that way. And that can truly shock you, throw you into a panic, cause depression, anxiety, and even post-traumatic stress disorder. It's a sad scenario when I see a narcissistic parent and an innocent child, and even an innocent adult child. It is so complicated of a puzzle, and it really requires a lot of knowledge, a lot of growing and developing on the part of the therapist to be able to see what's going on. Let me know in the comment section below if you have dealt with these kind of narcissists within your family, and tell me what you think of that narcissistic triangle, that narcissist, the grandiosity and the vulnerability. I'm sure you've seen that a lot in your family. Thank you so much for being with me in today's video. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if this was helpful, and hit that subscribe and bell button so you can stick around, and every time I post a live chat, a video, a post, you will get the first notification. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.